And so many times I would be called over by a kid to help them with work, and they would never ask me a question. I'm like, why am I here then? You know, and they're like, I don't know, you know. And so I started to realize more and more that I had a bigger impact on these kids than just being a teacher. You know, that it was more like they looked to me as someone, as an authority figure that can comfort them in times when they're stressed out, which is usually during assignments and stuff like that. So that was great. That was great. That was a great experience for me too. And then my third goal was learning to help foster teamwork and problem-solving skills through different activities. And I found the opportunity to foster teamwork a lot of times in the form of sports, and because what I've learned is working 6 years at a child care program, that kids become very, very selfish when it comes to certain activities where they want to strive and be the best person. And many times when you try to teach teamwork to children, they struggle, and it takes sometimes hours and days and weeks and months for them to just learn how valuable teamwork is. So an example would be we would play basketball, and there would always be boys fighting to get the ball, and they would never pass, and they would always be so selfish. And there would be times when I would have to say, guys, look, if you're not going to pass the ball, don't even play, you know, or if you're not going to show teamwork, if you're not going to present teamwork, then you're not going to win. It's not going to help you. And so once they started to actually pass the ball, once they started to show teamwork, they started to win, and then the game became more fun for everybody, and they saw that benefit. And so I was able to teach in those ways. Also with homework, a lot of times children would know the assignments better than me because they learned it in class. So sometimes so there would be times where I would tell a kid, why don't you help this student with an assignment, you know? And then I would see students that were maybe a year older helping other students with homework, which they would usually never do. And so this was great because we can see when you see a child helping another child, that can evolve into a friendship, and that friendship can evolve into a lifestyle. And so that was the goal that I was trying to accomplish there. And so I saw that not only in their studies but also in different activities that able to foster teamwork. And this was during both morning and afternoon shifts at the elementary schools that I worked at. Also, my fourth goal was to help the kids in a setting that was that involved a lot of people, and specifically, I would help them to speak properly in front of their peers, to learn when it's appropriate to say certain words, to say certain settings. I would help them in ways such as, an example would be, there was a child named Drew in my morning program, and Drew has Asperger's. And children with Asperger's, they have a mild form of autism, and you can tell that they're different. The way they talk, the way they react. And Drew would always talk about the same topics every single day. He loved dinosaurs and Pokemon, and that's all he talked about every day. But the children were getting frustrated with him because he was always talking about the same topics every day. And so many times at my job, I was dealt with conflict. I was dealt with conflict between two kids. Many times it was boys. And so there was one time where Drew was talking so much about dinosaurs that it bothered this kid named Tyler. And Tyler then started making fun of Drew. And I instantly told Tyler that that's not the way that you treat other people. And because I knew that Drew had a mild disorder, but Tyler didn't know that. So also I encouraged Drew, like, even though they might not like dinosaurs, I like dinosaurs. So why don't me and you talk about dinosaurs, you know? So in a way, I realized that if he was not going to be accepted socially, then at least I can accept him. And then he can be his own person. He doesn't have to fear being himself in front of other children. And so I thought that was great, because ever since that day, Drew's been so lively. He's always had a smile on his face. He's always talking with me, you know. And children with Asperger's, they want to fit in. They want to be like everyone else, but they know they have a problem, and so they're very hesitant. And I know what that feels like, because I grew up with a speech impediment, so I knew what it felt like to want to be more outgoing, but you don't know how to, or you're afraid to. So I could relate to Drew in some ways, and so I was able to take him under my wing and mentor him, and just always encourage him, and that was great. And then Tyler understood that what he did was wrong, you know, and there were even times where I would show more attention to Drew on purpose in front of Tyler, and I would play games with Tyler over. I would play games with Drew over Tyler on purpose, so Tyler sees that the way that he was behaving, that I don't favor that. And so I think it's very powerful when a young child is doing an activity with an adult, because the adult is the popular one. And so in the mindset of a child, if you're talking to an adult, then you're cool. So I wanted Tyler to see that it was cool to not only be like Drew, but that I was going to favor Drew because Tyler was misbehaving, and so I thought that was powerful. And many times with children, they learn by watching others. They learn by example, and so I believe that at that moment that I was a good example for them, and so, you know, different activities such as that, and then also when it comes to arts and crafts and group activities, I was able to also handle different conflicts. There's always conflicts when it comes to children. It's natural, because they're learning, and they need to know when it's proper to speak, when it's proper to stay quiet, when it's proper to share your opinion. Sometimes when your opinion might be very rude, and so there were other times when I would have to deal with conflicts, deal with children that were very rude and maybe would say things that were out of line, but I would handle them gently. You know, I wouldn't scold them all the time. Sometimes the staff members at my job, they're older women, and they treat them like their own kids, and sometimes they're very aggressive, and so sometimes I talk with them more. You know, I talk with them, and if you give a child the freedom to express themselves, if you give a child choices, a lot of times I will tell them, okay, well, you're talking when you shouldn't be talking. Do you want to stay here, or do you want to move over here? And if you move over here, you won't be near your friends. And they say, no, I'll stop talking because I want to be near my friends. You give a child choice. I think that choice is very powerful. And for children, I was able to use this strategy with many conflicts, and it wound up being okay. You know, because kids, the way that they value things is by a justice. It's like kids value justice, and they value if things are fair. If it's not fair to them, they're going to react, and they're not going to be happy. But if you give them choice, then they think that's fair. So I was able to use these different things with them. My fifth goal was to basically just learn for me to become a role model through my actions and behaviors, and just give them a positive environment always. And this was different for me because even though, you know, I'm always told to be a role model, you know, many times I would go to my job and I would be very lazy with it, and I would be there and say, look, you know, I'm just here for money, you know, like I love kids, but I'm here for money, and sometimes I would have to be a role model back in the past, but I didn't treat it as seriously as I did now, because now this is I think that not only am I more grown up, but I approach this job differently now, because of where I am in school, because of what I'm studying, and so now every day I treat it as if I'm a role model to these kids, and I need to take my job seriously, or else I might damage a kid. I might lead a kid astray. You know, if I'm not behaving the right way, the kid's going to follow that, and he's going to act that same way at home, and that might lead to problems with his family or something. You know, because there's always a domino effect, and that's why a lot of times the kids that are acting out at our child care job are usually the kids that have a hard home life too. And so you can see how children will model people that are older than them. It's just natural. So that was something that I wanted, and I saw a lot of kids. They would do things I would do. They would say things that I would say. A lot of times, like if I helped a kid clean up a certain project, I would see other kids helping and cleaning up because they respected me and they wanted to model me. So that was nice to see, and so also the way I talk to children, I would talk to them gently and kindly and always want to make them laugh. And I saw different children that would sometimes react in an aggressive way. They started to calm down a little bit because they started to see how I was acting around them. And so I saw that every day, and it's very powerful when you can see how much of an impact you have on children. And so I thought that my time as a child care worker, it taught me a great deal. You know, it just taught me of how much of an impact I have on children, and how if I ever want to go to graduate school, which is my plan, if I ever go to graduate school and I become a therapist or a psychologist in the field of children, that I believe that I'm prepared more because of this experience. I believe that not only because of my past years at this job, but now because I've taken it to a new level, a new approach, and I'm more serious with it now. And there were many times where I had to put my faith in God that I didn't mess up, because there were days where I was having bad days, and I didn't want to be a role model sometimes, and I didn't want to be this nice guy because I was going through a bad day. But you know, I put my faith in God, and then I would be calm during my job, and then an opportunity would come, and I could just see God work, and I would react in a way that I knew was right, and then the child would model it. So I thought it was just a great experience, and I saw children, not only boys, but I saw girls also model me too. There's a girl named Sasha who's very, very bubbly and very loud, and then there's a girl named Saoirse, and Saoirse is the total opposite. She's very quiet, and I saw both of them. They would always want to be around me. They would always want to model what I do. They would always want to play games with me, and I've seen those kids grow up too as time has gone on, and it's just been a blessing. And so I really hope that I have the opportunity to teach kids more in the future. And also with that comes the family dynamics too, of teaching parents how to maybe treat their children, and how important their children's lives are, and how spending time with them makes a huge difference, and how even simply getting involved in simple activities like homework can bring a child and their parents so much closer. But when that's not there, it's so evident that when that's not there, there's a huge gap between the families, and that's something very, very, very common in child care work. I see that every day, and so just happy for the opportunity, and happy that the Lord chose me to do this. And I pray that it just evolves into more chances in the future to shape more lives. So,
All right, thank you.
Yeah.